Hello and welcome to the NEWSPASTE Podcast with me, your host, Johnny Vedmore. We're having an intro this week. I might do intros more often, to be honest, and do a little bit of housekeeping and talk a little bit just before, especially on this episode. This episode, I talk with Dr. Shiva. Now, anybody who knows Dr. Shiva knows that he uses strong language. I didn't hold him back, so don't listen to this out in a public place if you don't want to hear swear words, lots of swear words, lots of curse words. He has a lot of really strong things to say about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tucker Carlson, Trump, others, and people who support people like Robert F. Kennedy, people who work for Robert F. Kennedy or any of his conduits. I probably should broach the fact that he did actually mention my ex-partner in very derogatory terms, and that's a little bit awkward. Don't know if he knew that we had a baby together or anything, but not the easiest thing to bring up. But it is true, and as I have to state later on, she does basically get paid by conduits of RFK Jr. So his problem is people who work for RFK Jr. Or Booby F-ing Kennedy, as he calls them. So that was a little bit awkward. The actual conversation I enjoyed thoroughly, though. Some people I know that at times, because of his very abrasive attitude, um, that he doesn't necessarily gain popularity in some quarters. Some people will call him things like arrogant and stuff, Dr. Shiva. Um, I think he's extremely focused on what he believes, and he's an interesting character, very interesting character, and his take of the swarm of these people is nearly perfect. I mean, I agree with him about Robert F. Kennedy. I think he's a Zionist pig dog. Don't really want to say it like that, but it's clear where his support is, and that he's not the person that he tries to project himself out as. I've tried to explain that for a while. I was stopped from writing about him on a number of occasions. And that is definitely not going to continue because I've been researching Robert F. Kennedy for a while now. So I do know that there's a lot of truth in it. I was expecting, see, we talk in terms of the independent media, and the problems with the fact that it's funded by people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and others, and that the independent media tends to bow to these people when they come along, because they're the big names, they're the biggest we can get on the independent media. But I think that people don't question him hard enough. And I don't like the amount of money that goes into independent journalism that comes from sources like this. I think it just stops people like me when I say I want to write about this person or I want to investigate this person, and the person who owns a site or etc. says, no, I can't do that because they're getting funding elsewhere from them. That's a problem with me, journalistically, straight away. So I'm always going to come head to head with Robert F. Kennedy in that sense, but heads with him. I don't agree with what he does most of the time. I think a lot of the people he's had on his campaign have suspicious links. His children have suspicious links, and the research I've done, I know more than most. I know things that other people don't know. So I've given hints to some of the things that I know about Robert F. Kennedy, but I know a load of things. So, I have zero sympathy anymore for people who take money from Robert F. Kennedy or his conduits. Zero sympathy. They will be attacked. They will be exposed as taking money from someone who's basically in bed with some very bad people and has been for a long time. Now, because of my unwillingness to bow. It means that, for instance, yesterday on Twitter X, I uh, I came head to head with someone, an account of a guy called Christian, and Christian wanted to say that it was a lie. What I was saying about Robert F. Kennedy knowing Epstein and being friends with Epstein. He said he used his plane twice. Once to go see his mum. He was allowed to use it to go see his mum. And another time he did it, he went fossil hunting. But what they're not noting, what they're not realizing there, what they're not understanding, or they're not bothering to understand, is that what about that ball then? In between one of the flights he catches in 1994, they leave, they land in New York, and that night, Epstein and Robert Kennedy and his wife are pictured on the same table at a benefit event. So if it was just who he was given the plane to go see his mum, then why were they going out in the nighttime in the New York establishment elite, which is, in control, in lots of ways, in control of America? If you're going to lie to me, if you're going to say, oh no, he just went to see his mum and he went fossil hunting, and I can prove you wrong, I can say, look, these are flight logs, and this is the event, and look, that's in between the event, so he's obviously not seeing his mum, is he? It makes people look really bad. And that person who defended Robert F. Kennedy, I said, oh well, I think he's just waved too into Zionism for my liking. And the guy said, oh well, it depends what type of Zionism and stuff, but I would describe myself as a Zionist. So it was pretty clear. There you go, Robert F. Kennedy. The people who were defending him are the same people who are bloody Zionists and defending Zionism. So it's pretty clear which camp they're in. So I would say to everybody, including my former partner, including everybody else who will listen, don't get in bed with Robert F. Kennedy. Don't take his money. The same with Teal. I tried to explain this to people over and over again. You take a Rumble-only contract, you're in bed with Teal. You're in bed with Teal. You're in bed with the operation. The operation to take the independent media, which is now the neo-mainstream media, the neo-legacy media, to overtake that, that's already happened. These people are funding the majority of the independent media. Teal, Kennedy, others funding large parts. Some of it's doing good work, of course. That's how they hide behind. They don't just do evil all the time. They do good work as well. So I've got a problem with RFK, and I got a problem with the people who take his money. I got a problem with Teal. I got a problem with the people who take his money. So me and Kim Iverson had it out. She did this. Oh, I just have an independent platform. I work from one room, and it's in my house. But you paid by Teal. It doesn't matter if you've got two rooms, one room, half a room. Doesn't matter. If you're taking money from Teal's network, then you are owned. You are owned. You are in bed with that person, whether you like it or not. That's taking money from people. You take money from people, that's what happens. So, saying that, I don't blame them for taking money, because most people can't make a living on the independent media. So at the same time as I'm saying, oh, don't take money from these people, I find it impossible to make money from the independent media. Let's look, tie, shirt, why is that? That's because I got to go look for jobs, isn't it? And get a job, a proper job, alongside doing journalism, because journalism doesn't pay. So I understand. I understand the temptation to sell out. I understand the temptation not to work hard somewhere else and then also do the journalism on top. And I understand. I understand your want to take money from a really horrible, nasty cyber authoritarian so that you can be able to pay your rent. I understand it. I understand it. I don't agree with it. So all of the people like Russell Brand, Kim Iverson, I mean, this is where I'm aligned with Shiva. I'm aligned with him because he says the same. Russell Brand, all these guys, these are cocksuckers for the mainstream media. That's what he says. out loud. These cocksuckers for the legacy media, for the swarm, for the establishment. And it's true. It should also be noted, though, that the lawyer who represented Shiva in one of the cases was also representing Hulk Hogan in the case that was actually funded by Peter Thiel. So I didn't ask Dr. Shiva about that, and I probably should have. But still, regardless, if you listen to Dr. Shiva's view on Thiel, it's if you take money from him, you're cuck. So, I mean, he's pretty clear about it, and I feel pretty clear about it. I'm sorry to the people who say, yes, but Kib Iverson, he's just trying to make a living, and Russell Brand is just trying to, he got banned from YouTube, so he's just trying to make a living. They already sold out themselves to these people. And unfortunately, when things like this happen, I don't just leave it there. I go and do a load of research. So I've already done a load of research. Eventually, my findings will be published. And the research I've been doing I've not only been doing stories about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I've not only been doing articles I've started a Spaceman series. You can guess who that's about. I'm not only looking at 150 years ago and the repeated COVID, Benazir Bhutto and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the rise of Klaus Schwab. I'm still investigating fully. I'm not only doing all of these different things I'm involved with, and a load of other cases. I'm researching loads, but one of the things I'm researching heavily at the moment is a selection. I started in 3 different places, and they weren't even the same articles, and they ended up in the same place. And it's about the independent media. So I wanted to understand a question. I had a question for myself. The question was, why the hell was someone being fed draft versions of my story in my articles in secret? Yeah, and then leaking them to other people. That's a good question. If that was happening to you and you're a journalist, you'd be pretty pissed off. Someone you trusted, someone you were in a relationship with, someone who you're supposed to be your boss, is secretly, without your knowledge, sending your articles to someone else, who's then leaking them to someone else, who's then leaking them or leaking the information out before I can publish it. That's really suspicious. And that made me investigate something. That led to another investigation, and then my other investigation on the other side have all met up. These 3 investigations all met up in the same place. Same people involved, same people, same names coming up. And it's the majority of some of the big names on the independent media. And there's a load of funding happened. There's a load of things happened. And it's been going on for 20 years. At least, this co-opting of the independent media. They were creating it a long time ago, and a lot of it is just fake. So we'll get to that eventually. So when I'm sympathetic, when you hear me be sympathetic to Dr. Shiva's views and Dr. Shiva's attitude, when you see me nodding away, it's because he's telling the truth. It's because he's actually telling the truth. It's because he's telling a load of things that I know are true. And eventually I'll be able to evidence them all because it's unbelievable. A lot of people who watch my stuff, and there's not many people who watch my stuff, but the ones who do, a lot of them will love a lot of the people who one day I'm going to have to expose. They love them. They think they're heroes. But there's a whole operation. I don't know what the operation was called, but it was the operation to take over the independent media. And so we'll start here today on this wonderful NEWSPASTE podcast with me talking with Dr. Shiva. And we will talk about this. We will have a long conversation about this. This murky world of the swarm, and how the majority of what we think is independent media is already being bought out. And some of it you'll go, well, I don't agree with that, or I'm not sure about that, or he sounds arrogant here, or he sounds arrogant there. And in a year's time, 2 years' time, you'll go, oh my God, he was right. It's problem with Shiva. I think that's why he's so he can be so arrogant, because he knows that and I understand that. I want to be that arrogant sometimes. I get really I imagine you're talking about somebody else, or to the public, and loads about that person, and people just don't know anything about them. They don't know even close, and they see them as a completely different person. But you can't quite say it yet until you've proven it. That is the world I'm in a lot of the time. I know I want to say something, but I can't say something because I got to wait until I can prove it perfectly. Because otherwise, if you just show one part of your hand, they can find a way to cover that up and change their story. And I said to the guy who came at me about Robert F. Kennedy yesterday, "You're a liar and a propagandist. You've been told that, or you're purposely trying to fool people. Either way, you're either gullible or you're lying. It is no other way about it." So these people who are doing that, if I give them too much information about what I'm looking into, they will change their narrative to suit it. So the guy, next time I hear that guy, he won't be saying that Robert F. Kennedy went and went to see his mum in the plane. He'll have found a reason why he went out with Epstein to a charity function for the Academy of Art in New York, and why that was all right. That's how it works. So they try and find a way to manage the information that comes out, not manage the truth. The truth they don't want to come out. They don't want the truth out. So, welcome to the NEWSPASTE Podcast. I hope you enjoy, like I say, this strong language throughout, themes that will upset some people because they have so much faith in certain parts of the independent media. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. The majority of the stuff that was given to you before, spoon-fed to you before, was nonsense operations that they did to seed certain people into the independent media, and it worked. We supped it up. I know I did. The majority of people I now look on and go, "Oh my God, I know all of the links and all of the evidence." The majority of them, I was their biggest fan. I was just like in awe of them. And now I see them for what they are, and there's loads of them. There's my cat coming in, telling me, "Teal, don't trust Teal." Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I hope I didn't bore you too much with that drama that we got going on, but that's the way life is. So enjoy the NEWSPASTE Podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Johnny. How are you?
No, I'm really good. Thank you. We're doing a joint presentation here on the NEWSPASTE Podcast as well. And I'm Johnny Vedmore. I'm an investigative journalist. I'm someone who, understands the world of the swarm. Most of my articles are based around things like the World Economic Forum, the rise of Klaus Schwab, Kissinger's creation of a new world order, the CIA and Harvard conduits that led to the creation of that world order in the late 60s, early 70s. And I think we've got lots in common, especially our vision and our view of some of modern politics. So I'm really interested. I know people who listen to me are really interested in us having a proper conversation where we're talking about things that we both know about, and this is going to be interesting. Thanks for having this conversation, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, when I did that swarm video, was basically 50 years in the works. And anyone who's serious about real change will watch that video carefully. And, it took me another 50 years to write this book called System and Revolution. It's really a real guide which explains to people what is a system, what is revolution. And people like Booby fucking Kennedy know about this. And he is one of the biggest scumbags, piece of shits on the planet, a Zionist hoodlum. And anyone who's in his network is also part of the swarm deeply, because I have emails that Kennedy has transacted with a guy that used to work with him. He understands the political dynamics of the controlled opposition, and he has decided to take the role of the controlled opposition. And he is very well funded by the swarm. And he hates guys like me. And what he does is comes to our meetings. And you look at his last email, you look at his emails and videos, he literally knows that we are the true revolutionaries. Copies our stuff, puts it out there, and gets people like Whitney Webb to support him, who is funded by him and who's part of him. And people say, oh my God, she shares the truth. We don't give a fuck who shares the truth. When do they share the truth? And what is their purpose in sharing the truth? And do they call action? Noam Chomsky shares the truth all day long. But, if you go to a Noam Chomsky lecture, and I was a student of Noam's when I was an undergraduate, you leave all demoralized, right? So the establishment is very clever. People like Booby fucking Kennedy are infiltrating change agents or seeming change agents. And you watch their content and you think, oh my God, they revealed everything. They revealed jack shit, because the revelation of stuff has to be associated with the timing. Fucker Carlson's part of this. But everyone should understand, you can share as much as you want, Johnny, but the reality is telling the truth, quote unquote, half truths, by the way, and even detailed truths of all these machinations with what people like Whitney Webb do, but not talking about change and being associated with Booby fucking Kennedy should make it clear why they are giving you sort of doses of truth. Okay? Mm-hmm. They don't want you to fundamentally change the world, because Booby fucking Kennedy is a Zionist scumbag. He's a Zionist cocksucker. He promotes vaccinations. He was, the contradiction in his life are so deep. He's not just fork tongue. He's got multiple tongues. So these people are highly, highly clever on the level of deception they play.
How do you think that people like Tucker Carlson and Robert F. Kennedy ended up into this position? Do you think it is just allegiance with a three-letter agency, that they are, whether they know it or not, working for some form of intelligence agenda?
Yeah, of course, look.
Am I being too kind by saying if they know it or not?
Of course they know it. Look, let me give the explanation, because I've been around these people. They've always wanted to co-opt me into their circles. This is how it works. If you ever been part of a group of people, right, and you're all friends, right, well, you all have an implicit understanding. Okay, we're friends, we sort of protect each other, right? It's this implicit understanding, all right? It's like people join these golf clubs, right? Or some society, a fraternity, right? There's an implicit understanding you're part of the club. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be explicit. And this is what people don't, it's not like you will do this, you will do this. It's like a swarm, okay? And the implicit understanding is far more powerful than the explicit understanding, okay? So therefore, you may act in the outer world, you have some minor differences, but internally, you will never, ever go against them. Why? And you have to step back and understand all of these people, guys, they hang out literally at the same restaurants, literally at their same clubs. They literally screw the same people. They literally send their kids to the same equestrian shows, to the same, artsy schools. All right. They pick them up. Sometimes you have no idea of the level of interconnection these people have. Mm-hmm. All right.
I explain this quite a lot about, I try and give an example of the New York scene, the financial scene. If you look at their parties, it's exactly the same people who are now, if you go back 40 years ago, they're the people who we see as nefarious now. Yet back then they were all of the main people on the front of mainstream media, being plugged out by the big newspapers, New York Times covering them all the time. People are always giving them the best show because they're all part of the club.
So you have to realize, how does Vivek the Snake overnight get everywhere? Go look at all the editors of the New York Times. They're Zionist hoodlums and they're a bunch of Brahmins, okay? One phone call from one PR agent and you're on every podcast. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been in that world. And if you haven't been in that world, you're really fucking stupid, in the sense, stupidity, not, stupid mentally, but they make you stupid to think, wow, these people are fighting against each other. Guys, they're all very, very closely connected. You know, if you go to New York, like you said, they're all invited to the same parties. They all, when they go to Malibu, go to the same restaurants, right? When they go to Aspen, they shop at the same places. Oh, how you doing? Good to see you, fucker. Yeah, good to see you, Booby. They're all friends. Oh, how was your wife's last plastic surgery? Mine's was great, right? That's what they're doing. They're all one fucking swarm. And if you don't understand this dynamic at this deep level of the social connections that they have, and that they're interminably linked to each other, that you will not understand how you're being played. And that's why when you shared with me earlier that Whitney Webb gets funded by Booby Kennedy and all this phenomenon takes place, everyone says, oh, Dr. Shiva, Whitney Webb and you should do a podcast. She's never contacted me. And the first time I saw her do a podcast with Booby, I said, this is fucked up. She's with the fucking enemy, because she is part of the swarm. So the swarm is very clever. Now you have fucker Carlson acting like he's like fighting Justin Trudeau. He's like supporting the truckers, right? All of this is being done. It's a CIA, MI6, Mossad fucking psychological operation. And 90% of it is being done because of our movement, because we have been relentlessly exposing this people. And in 2020, Johnny, when I first, in 2019, I was, I'm considered one of the leading guys on the immune system. I was asked about the vax or anti-vax position. And I did a video. You guys can go see it. It's in 2019, almost 4 or 5 years ago. And I said, we need to go beyond vax and anti-vax. The real issue is the resilience of the immune system. And all these mothers who were giving Kennedy blowjobs and probably giving him a lot of money came to me and they said, oh, Dr. Shiva, we love what you're doing, and they invited me to speak. And then but I'm also an activist. I like getting on the ground, getting my hands dirty, building bottoms up militant movements. And I said, where's the fucking movement against vaccine mandates? And the first opportunity was in New Jersey, where we held a massive protest, 5,000 people. I'm originally from New Jersey. Booby fucking Kennedy comes, the controlled opposition, and he's really upset, jealous that all these people love the points I'm making, which are much more scientifically based. And then he tries to undermine me. And he says, oh, Dr. Shiva is going to hurt the movement. We need to have channels to work with the Democrats. Okay? Scumbag. Well, anyway, it was because of that militant protest that the Democrats in the New Jersey House of Representatives tabled the bill. It was a huge victory. All right? That's how you win. Kennedy has no intention of winning. He is part of the entire CIA operation.
So he's there to drag in. He's there to drag in the scragglers and the people moving away or pushed away from the Democrat Party due to the fact that they're quite vulgar and horrible, and everybody automatically goes away. And then they send out someone like Booby F Kennedy, as you call him.
Well, they have a bunch of them now, Johnny. They have a bunch of them. So if you look back, this really started after the 1970s, going back to the 50s, where they realized that they wanted to stop truly organic bottoms-up movements. People like me who come from the dirt, building up these movements and are truly the heroes of the people. So in order to suppress people like me and others, before they used to just shoot us, right? Or execute us, and then we would become martyrs. They said, we don't want that. So then what they ended up doing was they said, okay, we're going to create our own fake heroes and fake martyrs even. Russell Brand being one of them, Martin Luther King being one of them, the Kennedys being one of them. So this was a CIA MI6 policy that was put into place starting post 50s and 60s. So by the 70s, they had it all figured out. And, the Kennedys are the institutionalized swarm. They're the institutionalized, not so obvious establishment. John Kennedy was all out for the CIA. You should go read his speeches before he was supposedly, it was basically one wing of the organized crime family killing another wing because they were pissed off. We shouldn't have any sympathies for the Kennedy at all. They're all part of this nonsense. Robert F. Kennedy, the father of Booby, was all out for escalating the war in Vietnam, but then they make him into be a peacenik. But what they have done is they have created now a Baskin-Robbins flavor of these people. Booby F. Kennedy for the mothers, the white, wealthy women with disposable income who fucked up their kids following the vaccine mandates and they feel guilty. That's his audience who he fly traps, who want to leave, right? Trump is for taking advantage of the white working class, okay? Tulsi Gabbard is for the quote-unquote anti-war people, okay? Bernie Sanders is for the working class. He's a bullshitter, right? And so on. All of these people are created and controlled by the swarm. And all of them are devout cocksuckers of Zionism, which is a defining thing that they cannot escape, you see? And if you really look at it, they all are very, very close friends.
Yeah.
Very close friends. They have them on speed.
There's a lot there. I want to say that one thing that pops into my mind is Henry Kissinger's 50th birthday party, where just after it had been discovered that he had been spying and using the intelligence agencies to spy on all of the press. Then all of the press happened to be the people who were attending his birthday party, and so they were all being questioned as they were going in, and they were how do you feel about the fact that Henry Kissinger ordered the surveillance of you, and they were like, oh well, we'll just forgive and forget, and and everybody's just still, it doesn't matter what they do and what level of influence they try and have over them, they'll allow that influence to happen because it's the only way they rise to the top in media or entertainment.
Well,
go on,
Johnny. The United States press is part of the CIA. Okay, they rotate in and out. Go look at all the people who are press secretaries.
When do you think that happened? Do you think that was always the case? That
Well, look, it really accentuated and consolidated in the 70s. It was John fucking Kennedy, another reckless imperialist scumbag, who is the one who opened the doors of the White House for Kennedy to come in. He's the one who brought him in as a consultant, okay? So the 1970s, right after, the mid-60s, were the turning point of consolidation of power in the field of science. The NIH, the NSF, all consolidated in the executive branch with the passage of the Mansfield Amendment. So the executive branch, science became completely politicized, totally. That's what occurred. You had the consolidation of power between big pharma, big hospitals, and the insurance companies, starting with the real advancement of GPOs and PBMs. That's how the healthcare systems got all fucked up. You had the consolidation of power, or the open consolidation between the intelligence agencies and media, all right? We talk about, remember, I grew up when Russia and China were seen as fascist media organizations. The United States is essentially a much more of a sophisticated fascist organization, where they give you these people thinking they're fighting against each other. Ooh, Fox News versus CNN, to keep the masses entertained, all right? And that's what this is about. And the unfortunate thing for them is, like, our movement exists. I exist because I came from low-caste untouchables in India. Guys like me weren't supposed to get an MIT education. We were supposed to, and even if we did, Johnny, we were supposed to be co-opted by them, okay? The brown guys get co-opted, the yellow people get co-opted, the white people get co-opted by the swarm, especially if they come from below. They have many, many ways. Another piece of shit, Vivek the Snake, he will suck anyone's cock, okay? Trump calls him out, you're not MAGA, and the next day sucking his cock even harder. And that's what these people are. So they find cocksuckers who actually have no connection to the oppressed and working people of this world. And if they did, they give them 1,000 ways to bribe them. They cannot bribe me because I never fucking forgot, since I was 4 years old, and my hatred for these people has increased exponentially. People say, well, when you get older, you'll calm down. It hasn't. All right. And that is why our movement is so important. And this is why people need to understand, you need to get fucking smart. You cannot be a dumb fuck anymore. And that's why people say, oh, are you, I never push anything, but I'm going to push this fucking book on you guys, because this took me 50 years to write. If you want to understand what is a system, what is a revolution from an engineering standpoint, you will understand it. And, and you go watch that swarm video and really watch it with your families, and go watch my videos exposing Kennedy and Joe Rogan and all these scumbags, because these people are the neo-establishment created by the intelligence agencies. Fucker Carlson's father created, as you know, the disinformation agency in the United States government to spread disinformation. So that's the world that he comes from. So we live in probably the ultra world of deception right now. And all of that media is counter to a true revolutionary movement, which is what we're building at Truth Freedom Health. We teach people what we're talking about, Johnny, this dynamic we're talking about. Without understanding this dynamic, you're just going to get suckered back into the swarm. Now, the unsophisticated version of it they had for 40 years, Johnny, was they had the two wings, Republican and Democrat, and they typically every 4 years find one guy on the left or the right to be the spokesman for the masses. So for years it was Bernie Sanders, right, on the left wing, and on the right wing they had people like Rand Paul, a constitutionalist, right, another Zionist cocksucker, okay, but they realized that the white working class in the United States was starting to break. And every time they try to break, they would sucker them back in, right? One year they used Bernie Sanders to sucker them back in, and then he delivered them to Hillary Clinton. Another year they used Obama. In fact, 2 years, 57% of Trumpers voted for Obama. There you go. Because he appealed to, again, funded by the Pritzker family, comes out of nowhere, funded by the swarm. And then they realize, okay, we've used him like a tissue, right? A used tissue. We need a new guy. And that's why Trump was brought in. Mm-hmm. Trump is a motherfucker, okay? He's the ultimate of this acting, okay? And so they're getting ready to deploy a neo establishment with all these people acting like they're fighting for you. And all you need to do is look at Trump's actions. That's all you need to do.
What's really interesting is what you describe there is not going to bring you popularity, is it? Because you have
wait.
I know.
What I'm saying is we have massive popularity among 500 million. In 2020, I saved hundreds of millions of people's lives. I didn't make money like that fucking douchebag Zelenko selling the vitamin D3 product. We gave it away, okay? Mm-hmm. But we helped hundreds of millions of people's lives. And you can go look at my history, Johnny, all the way to when I was 17 years old, burning the South African flag on the steps of MIT, exposing the president of MIT. I have never cared for them. And in spite of that, I'm here because, frankly, because I work my butt off and I'm reasonably smart. So the elites always think, oh, shit, he knows how to build this. He created email. We will sucker him back in, right? Somehow. Yeah.
My point was more that the swarm won't let you be popular, because how are you to be popular if everybody is like brainwashed into thinking I'm either red, blue, or this white in the middle?
Let me tell you what's going on, actually. Remember, I told you, we calculated all the YouTube views. About 500 million people know about our movement. That's a shitload of people, all right? So they got fucked in 2020 before they figured out what the fuck was going on. Then they started to massively censor me. But here's the interesting thing. In 2020, when I called out Booby fucking Kennedy, I lost 20% of my followers, okay? And then something interesting started happening. The people started saying, wait a minute, this guy's telling the truth. So now, 4 years later, if you go on my Twitter feed or his, when he says, oh, I'm here, please give me $500. This is what he did on his birthday. If you give me $500, I will allow you to leave me a birthday greeting. Or why don't you come here and I will let you suck my cock and fly my Falcon with me. People are like, what the fuck are you talking? So you will see people taking our content and hitting him. That did not occur, Johnny, in 2020. It was inconceivable. So because of all the hard work we did in exposing him, we have all these other people who go hit him and expose him. You're a Zionist cocksucker. Here's a video where you're saying you're for full vaccination of all Americans. You had everyone come to your home, had to be vaccinated. You fucking banged 30 women and you drove your wife to kill herself. What the fuck are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
That did not occur in 2020. Take you Trump. Same thing with Trump, okay? When I realized right on January 3rd, how fucked up Trump was with Stop the Steal, how he had taken most of my material and made $500 million on the election systems integrity stuff, okay? And then I had a couple of, I met with him twice, realized the guy's a fucking doofus. He's a tool, all right? Now, when I exposed him, Oh, I lost another 20% of all my magatards, okay? But every time we cull the herd of people who just like me because they think I'm saying the things that appeal to them, right? I'm against the vaccine mandates. Oh, you must be in Booby's camp. Ooh, I believe the elections are corrupt. Oh, you must be in Trump's camp. But then I go detailed and I say, wait a minute, there's real election corruption, but Mike Lindell and fucking Trump are not talking about that. They're like putting all sorts of shit. Then the MAGA people say, oh, you believe that elections are okay. No, I'm talking about the real shit that needs to be addressed. Same with this other douchebag, Steve Kirsch, comes out of nowhere. Another Kennedy cocksucker. All right. Zionist hoodlum. I didn't see him in 2020 fighting against vaccine mandates. Suddenly he gets involved, starts doing scientific analysis, which is all nonsense. If you see a shit, it's just bullshit. As a real scientist and engineer, you can see this in New Zealand, for example. The New Zealand whistleblower called me and he says, oh, I have data I'm going to release. And he goes, I gave it to Kirsch first. I said, why did you give it to that moron? And he goes, well, the guy's telling me, yeah, he's hyping it all up. I said, look, you need to be very careful with data because you really need to look at it, because if you release the data the wrong way, you're teeing it up for the opposition to eat you, which means a pro-vax opposition. And if you look at Kirsch's analysis, it's fucking nonsense. His analysis can be attacked by the opposition to actually promote why lockdowns were good. And I've seen this occur in every fucking movement, in the anti-GMO movement, right? We did real analysis going down to the cellular level showing how GMOs downregulate glutathione. Then they had this woman, Stephanie Seneff, quote unquote MIT, all right? She writes shit which is wacky shit, looks similar, but it's open to criticism. So what I'm trying to explain to people is it's people like Booby fucking Kennedy, fucker Carlson, fucking Trump, Bernie Sanders, all these other deceivers who are far more multi-fanged snakes than the obvious deceivers, the Bushes, the Clintons, all this guys. Yep. That's the obvious one. These people do two levels of deception. One is to make you think they're fighting for you. But third, they actually put out data that is bullshit data so the opposition can destroy them. So then it's all questions. It becomes pro-vax, anti-vax, pro-GMO, anti-GMO, pro-election fraud, anti-election fraud, left versus right. So we never get to the substantial issues.
It makes me want to ask a couple of questions. I mean, you talked about Whitney Webb earlier, who everybody who knows me knows she's my ex-partner, former partner, and she was funded by more than just, and I'll say, conduits of Robert F. Kennedy, because, you know, she'll be paid for a children's health defense this, or another conduit arm will pay her for this or that. And it's all very cleverly done, so you don't quite see what's happening. But also at the same time, if you look at all of the main independent media platforms that are put towards you, often are pre-co-opted anyway, they're nearly always speaking the same. During the Kennedy campaign as well, have been speaking the same Kennedy line at the same time, and promoting him at the same time. So children's health defense. Now, Robert F. Kennedy, he spent a lot of time working for legal companies that were supposedly fighting against Monsanto and the like. And I believe that's cover creation for this to go on. What do you make of what Children's Health Defense is now?
People need to go look at the history of Children's Health Defense Fund, really go look at the history. And people need to go, when you get time, Johnny, go look at a guy called Mark Blaxill, Blaxill, okay? There's a young, very, very smart epidemiologist who used to work for Children's Health Defense Fund, you know, and work with Kennedy. And he shared emails between Kennedy and him. And in those emails, you'll see Kennedy has decided, understands this dynamic of the controlled opposition, and he has chosen to be the controlled opposition to fuck up working people. Now, Children's Health Defense Fund, if you go look at their history, the lineage of them, it comes from this theory of thimerosal, right, which is mercury, you know, in vaccines related to autism. Okay, well, Blaxill is the one who presented that at a conference, and he didn't know he was given that data by the CDC. It's a longer, very, very web story, but the bottom line is this entire web Children's Health Defense Fund, the shit that they put out. They do not want any outsiders coming in and owning their multi-million-dollar organization. So when I came out of nowhere, but I'm the trained scientist, another douchebag, what is his name? He runs some show, High Wire. You know what I'm talking about, okay? Del Bigtree, okay?
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, so, I would say agency. So go on.
Totally agency, right? So they own all this. So when I came out of nowhere, I mean, here, give you the actual ground reality. In New Jersey, you can go look it up. In late December of 2019 and in early January 2019, the state legislature of New Jersey was going to pass one of the first very stringent vaccine mandate bills. These doofuses weren't doing anything. Me and 3 of my volunteers, we packed up my SUV, we drove down there with our sound equipment, and we ran the demonstration. They didn't have any sound equipment. It was quite amazing. So what did they want to do? They didn't really want to have a demonstration. They didn't want to mobilize people. We did. The next time was the day that they were going to pass the bill. We mobilized people again. And after we got that victory, it was very interesting. They were pissed with me. So Del Bigtree and the CHD people go off to, guess where to eat? Now, New Jersey, if you've been there, it has a lot of small, very fine restaurants, you know, mom and pop. They go to the Cheesecake Factory, okay? And we walk in, and they were seeing, you know, their worst enemy. They didn't want us to sit with them. That's who these people are. I'm an outsider to them coming in and toppling their multi-million-dollar apple cart that they suck money from everyday families. But they've done shit for everyday people. What they have done is this is how the bougie swarm agents work. So if you're living out in Malibu, or if you're living out in the Hamptons, right? If you're living in one of these places, Aspen, they're all toasting their martinis, whatever, doing their fucking shit. And they have, frankly, they've done nothing to help the world. So they create a shtick. Oh, my shtick is going to be, I'm going to run a cancer organization. Breast cancer. My shtick is, I'm going to help fight water things, right? Whatever, clean water. So they all come up with these shticks. It's like almost like the mafia, who is actually doing all sorts of crazy shit on the back end, but will start a nice restaurant or something on the front end to launder money. So they're actually laundering popularity, laundering their notoriety in some ways. So they create these shticks, and then they go to the masses, the 8 billion of us, and they convince us to give money because they're going to fight for us. It's so fucked up. And at the end of the day, they have no intention of fighting any of this. They just need to perpetuate the shtick, the dialectic of the shtick in particular. Now, you see the Republicans and Democrats, the labor and conservatives do this every day. They take some issue. One group will, oh my God, there's election fraud in the United States. So Trump will send out millions of emails, raises $500 million. Biden will say, no, there's no election fraud. Everything is fine. He'll raise another $1 billion. You see? They have no interest in getting down to the heart of the issue, that there's chain of custody issues, there's signature verification issues. And even those issues, they'll find, like in the case of Trump, you know, he had found wacko people with Mike Lindell who also sold pillows. Oh, there's bamboos in the ballots, crazy shit that the opposition could definitely attack. You see? This is what they do. This is the deception. I saw this in the anti-GMO movement. Let me go back to that. You know, in 2014 and 15, I wrote 5 conclusive papers showing that when you insert a gene in the genetically engineered soy, and it took me a lot of effort, man, that the soy plant actually becomes weaker, okay? And that the soy plant reduces its production of glutathione, which is a very, very important antioxidant. I mean, that took a lot of work.
Wikipedia won't like you talking about this, you know.
Yeah, they're a bunch of racist scumbags.
Yeah,
you know?
of course they are. But I was reading what they were saying about this. They had to word it very carefully to be right. It's very interesting.
Yeah, but if go look at back in 2007, I'm on the list of the top scientists in the world. And after my stuff went into the Smithsonian with the invention of email, and these are the racists who run the world, right? And the liberal racists. You see, they want darkies to be contained in their liberal, and we'll come back to that. But the point is, When the GMO movement took place, same thing. There's this pro-GMO, anti-GMO, both making money, right? Joe fucking Rogan, everyone writes to Joe and they say, you got to have Dr. Shiva on. He is the MIT scientist. Joe puts, or Rogan, the douchebag, puts a guy called Kevin Folta on, who is a pro-GMO academic scientist. Never puts me on. You say? Waits many, many years later, and then talks a little bit about the truth. Same with the vaccine issue. So you have to understand that these people are professional deceivers, and they have multiple ways to do it. Like you said, Kennedy sending through different conduits of money to Whitney Webb. She'll do these, ooh, I found this, this interconnection. We've known all this shit. You're not telling us anything new, Whitney. But I exist, and you will not even retweet any of my stuff, but you will suck Kennedy's cock really good because you're a Kennedy cocksucker. And so is Joe Rogan. And so is all of these people, because they're all intertwined. I mean, there's a picture that someone sent me. The head of the table is Ben Shapiro. It's very symbolic. And there's Jordan Peterson, and there's Joe Rogan, all having dinner
Brett
together.
Weinstein, okay? And Eric Weinstein.
All of these fuckers. And, you know, in 2020,
intellectual
you should hook up with Brett Weinstein. Right. And all of these people that others say, oh, Dr. Shiva, you should hook up with them. Guys, get it through your head. I'm the real fucking deal. They're all Zionist cocksuckers. They know who I am. Their CIA agents have said, I don't think you want to have this guy on your fucking show because he's going to fucking take all your audience away because they'll realize you're full of shit. So understand the level of duplicity that is taking place.
Very interesting. You talk about the intellectual dark web and that photo in particular, because I mean that photo is a little bit. It's quite strange. Jordan Peterson follows me. I don't know why. He only follows a couple of thousand people, but he's followed me for some reason, and I found him a very.
Rogan follows me. They follow you because they want to see where the hockey puck is going.
Yeah, maybe.
So they can. So they can. I mean, Kennedy literally sends out an email saying, no one is coming to save us. We must build a bottoms-up movement. Literally taken from our last Zoom because he sends people. All right? So these people, the deception they're doing is they're knowing that the 8 billion people want to break from them. So they are watching. I mean, with social media right now, they're watching. Which sentences does Dr. Shiva say? Let's run that through ChatGPT. Which is getting the most action? They take that. Hey, Vivek the Snake, say this. Hey, Booby, say this. Hey, Trump, say this. Literally. You will see stuff I will say word for word being copied over here. Not sometimes being copied by them, but sometimes being copied by their MI6 CIA influencers, fake anti-Zionists, you see? And then they get a call to make sure that they never retweet us. They never promote us, right? Keep us in a digital cage. So that's what's going on. And the only way out of this, Johnny, is people must understand this science and this dynamics. And we don't need all 8 billion people to understand what we're talking about right now. We need maybe about 10,000 people distributed. And then it's fucking over for them. Because they do not want, as long as they have another Vivek the Snake, another fucking Kennedy, another fucking Tulsi Gabbard, and there's basically 10 of them right now. Before they only needed 2. But now because of the work that frankly we take credit for we've been doing, they're like, fuck, we need a bunch of them. Right? We need to sucker the brownies over here to Vivek the Snake, right? We need to sucker all the white dudes over to fucker Carlson and Trump. We need to sucker these women over, right? So they got it set up, but all of these guys, their goal is to stick people to a fly trap so they don't go beyond. They don't start understanding this dynamic.
Yeah.
The good news is, man, we exist.
Yeah, we need people who can actually explain the fallacy to that a very small group of people who can actually do something, explain how they use the fallacies, explain how they manage to pull the wool over our eyes. And just to mention Eric Weinstein, I found him very interesting because he did this whole I was from a hedge fund where we looked into everything that was going on and we understood everything. Yet before that, he's actually working with the Edge Foundation when it was 100% funded by Epstein, and yet he only met him once. And before that, he was actually in the UN again.
Yeah.
So the things that these people don't mention, the same with Elon Musk not mentioning his time at Microsoft before Zip 2. You know, they have to create their narrative. They have to create this carefully constructed image. And what we're talking about here is parts of that swarm. It's just little tiny bits of that swarm. So I think that's something that we if you can explain to the people who can understand it quick enough. For me, I would say it's like a way to map out how the establishment looks and the multiple hands of the establishment. But if you could explain to people who don't really understand what you mean when you say swarm, that would be useful, I reckon.
Yeah. So again, look, I don't write a lot of books. When I write them, I want people to go read them because I put a lot of effort into them. You know, I don't do a lot of papers in science, but when I do, they're really good papers. But there's a diagram you'll find in System and Revolution, and I don't know if you can see it, okay? And this is a diagram that I sort of talk about in the swarm. Let me explain this. I wish I had a whiteboard. You see, there are 9 principles that govern every system in the universe. Go to truthfreedomhealth.com. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars like I had to do going to MIT and figuring all this shit out, or tens of millions. But I've made it accessible to people. But one of the things you find is in any control system, a system of control, that's what a control system is, your thermostat is a control system. How does it work? You go set a goal. Okay, we've set it. What have we set it at, Jason? 68 degrees? Okay, we've set the temperature at 68 degrees. That's the goal. So one of the 9 principles is control system as a goal. So we've set it at 68. Now, the purpose of this control system is to achieve that goal. So what does it do? It says, okay, it's 68 degrees is where I want to go. That automated system has to figure out where am I at right now. So the second part of a control system is called a sensor. So that thermostat also has a thermometer in it. And it says, oh, the temperature is 65 degrees right now. So 68 degrees is where you want to go, and you're at 65 degrees. So what's the differential? 3 degrees. Okay? So now there's a controller in there, the brains of that thermostat. It has to make a decision to now send a signal. So third part is a controller. It sends a signal, right? An input, which is a fourth part, into the place in the basement where the furnace is. And that signal input tells the furnace to conversion, another process, to convert the gas into heat, right? So a conversion process takes place. That is then transported, the 6th element of a system. Hopefully I got my numbers right, okay? And by the way, this is contained in a storage, right? The furnace, which is the 7th part. And then you get the output, okay, the 8th part. And all of this occurs in the midst of a disturbance, which is the 9th part of a system. The disturbance could be I left the window open and that reading could be off, okay? Mm-hmm. Go read System and Revolution and you'll get, 10 years of an MIT education, about 100 pages. But why do I share this? This control system science, Johnny, is what came out in the 1920s and 1950s. The elites like Henry Kissinger, George Soros, learned this. And about 10,000 people know this. Very simple system. But now you can apply this to the political system. What is the goal of the elites? Maximizing profit, maximizing power, maximizing control. That's their goal, no different than 68 degrees. And as a swarm video explains, they want to achieve that goal. But they got to understand, where am I at right now? So they have sensors. The sensors are giving them tons of data that they send to places like MIT and the Kennedy School. And these elites have dashboards. Ooh, okay, what is, where are we at? Are we maximizing power, profit, and control? Damn, yes, we got the S&P going way up, even though it should be tanking, right? We're controlling volatility, all right? We got a lot of people fucking getting really, really dumb, right? They're eating all sorts of shit. Go back to New Zealand, 80% of the Maoris are obese. 3rd highest obesity rate. No one wants to talk about that, but we'll have this anti-vax argument all day long and profit from it, okay? So we got people dumb, we got people literally fat, and we got people lazy that they'll, instead of building a bottoms-up movement, they'll go suck Kennedy's cock. They'll think Tulsi Gabbard is their anti-war hero when she supported the bombing of Iraq, the butchering of the Palestinians. Oh, we'll think Trump is our hero, right? He's going to drain the swamp. Really, he brought in Pompeo. He brought in the swamp into the White House. So they say, great, it's doing well. Let's keep doing more. So they, as a decision, they say, we're heading in the right direction. We got more people. But wait a minute, there's this fucking truth, freedom, and health movement over here, which is writing books like this, which is holding open houses, which is explaining this dynamic. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a decision. We're going to send new inputs into that 8 billion people. And by the way, if you go to shattertheswarm.com, in 15 minutes, you can understand this. So you don't have to waste 30 years of your life waking up when you're 90 and saying, fuck, why did I follow Kennedy? Fuck, why did I follow Trump? You know, I could have had some effect. So what is the inputs that they send? Well, before 1970, Johnny, the input was like, just go kill Dr. Shiva, kill Malcolm X, just wipe them out, annihilate them. Now they're saying, okay, the new inputs are, hey, Booby, you know, okay, you were a fucking heroin addict. We're going to let you off a little bit. We're going to let you run some nonprofits. Hey, fucking Trump, you wanted to be a producer in Hollywood. Okay, we're going to put you in The Apprentice. We're going to groom you how to fuck over other people. Hey, Tulsi, yeah, you're part, by the way, you're head of the psychological unit as a lieutenant colonel in the National Guard. We're going to have you be the anti-military industrial complex. So they put these inputs in to make people lazy so they don't get off their butt and say, let me join Dr. Shiva's movement and learn how to hand out a flyer, learn how to communicate people. Let me not go get a bumper sticker and build a bottoms-up movement. Let me not go help a true independent candidate collect. They don't want you to build a movement. So they're going to give you these lazy ways out. Ooh, I'm supporting Kennedy. He's an independent. Ooh, anti-establishment. Ooh, Trump said that he's going to stop CDBCs. Did you hear what he said? He's going to stop centralized bank digital currency because someone told him to say that, right? Someone also told him to lock her up. Someone also told him to drain the swamp, which, by the way, which he did none of. Mm-hmm. So that's the input they put into the system. And then they transport it through all their media vehicles. They can convert your ideas by completely overwhelming you with the use of people like Tucker Carlson and the military industrial, the agencies. And then you say, oh, wow, I don't have to build a movement. Booby's doing the movement. In fact, they start using the word movement. Okay? Go to Fucker Carlson's page. Join the movement. Where'd you get that, fucker? What kind of movement are you building? Bowel fucking movement? Right? What are you actually moving? So everything they do, Johnny. Now, so that's this control system process they have. Now, if we, as people who truly want to change the world, want to change the world, you better understand those 9 principles, or you're fucked. There's no way. This is a scientific manual for understanding a system and building a revolution. And I've spent, since I was 4 years old, trying to figure this shit out. And I realized that you must have scientific principles. You cannot build this microphone right here without understanding, Rayleigh's equation, without understanding the theory of sound. You can't. You can't build an airplane without understanding Bernoulli's principle. So do you fucking think you're going to be able to shatter the swarm without understanding the fundamental principles? So you're looking at someone who's dedicated his life to science, engineering, health, has gotten all their accolades from the establishment. The problem is, for them, I never forgot how much I fucking hated them. So I've taken all that knowledge and I've created the tools, the weapons. If anything, Truth, Freedom, Health is a weapons factory. It's a weapons factory of knowledge for those who want to learn. And if you want to talk about, send me ridiculous videos, it's delete. You're going to fucking be taken off. I don't have fucking time to talk about Whitney Webb. Oh my God, she's exposing this. Ooh, did you see fucker Carlson? Ooh, did you see what Joe Rogan just did? You're fucking being bamboozled. Go keep sucking their cocks. I will write you a recommendation letter to go work on Kennedy's campaign. We don't want that kind of people. We want people who are adults, who are serious, who want to fundamentally change the world. No different than if you wanted to be an aeronautical engineer, you throw away 80% of the applications. You want people who really want to understand it because it's going to take dedication. Mm-hmm. So that's the movement that we've created. And it is basically the place that we're at, Johnny, is like, once you figure out the dynamics of a system, once you figure out, let's say if you were Maxwell's equations, right? One of your countrymen, right? Figured out with Faraday the laws of electromagnetism, and you know how to build motors and stuff. You don't have time to fucking fuck around when people are talking about, well, I think I can do this. No, we've actually figured out the laws. We know how to build a fucking motor. We know how to build a movement. And we know how to shatter the swarm. So if you're fucking serious, great, come to our open house. You know, we're very generous with our time. We'll talk. We get on the ground. We teach people how to do basic things. We're building a community. But if you want to talk about fucking, you know, rats on Mars running the universe or some fucking nonsense shit and is the world flat or some shit, it doesn't fucking matter. Even if the earth is flat or not, you're still being fucked. Okay?
Yeah. I agree with this. I agree with this completely.
How do you want to get, do you want to get unfucked, or do you want to watch how you're being fucked and being abused? If you want to be an abuse victim, keep following Kennedy, keep watching Whitney Webb videos, keep watching all these videos that are exposing shit. But if you want to know what they're doing to you, go watch Shatter the Swarm video. Go come to our open houses. Go support me for president. It's not about winning on their battleground. It's about you. Do you have the wherewithal to take a position in life? You know what? When I put one of these bumper stickers on my back of my car, I have understood certain things. This is like an honorific in many ways. All right. And it's a wonderful way of you saying fuck you to them. So how
do we get like, because you that system, I want to pull parts of that system apart.
Yeah.
It doesn't let me live my life. It doesn't let me tell the truth. It doesn't let me have my voice out. It doesn't let me get the information that's really needed out there. So how do we tackle, for instance, on the media side, when you look at people like Fucker Carlson, as you call him, and Russell Brand?
Yeah, that's his name. Everyone should please call him Fucker Carlson. It's the right name. And Booby fucking Kennedy. The reason I do that, Johnny, because they have also entrained our mind to give these people false respect. Who the fucking names their kid Tucker?
Yeah.
It's like a fuck, you know, it's like this bougie, you know,
I can't even understand why people think he's an actual someone to follow. I you know, everything he says is clearly, he's clearly the mouthpiece of an agency. I really don't understand why they follow. Same with Brand. I'm from Britain. He's a comedian. He'll keep you laughing and stuff. But how do we get rid of these people? Russell Brand. How do we get rid of these?
Oh my
people?
God, guys! The thing is, what if you observe, you can observe the quality of someone's wisdom by who they follow. All right. You know, Russell Brand was a fucking scumbag all of his life. And that's why he was recruited by these intelligence agencies, because they had a lot of shit on him. And then if he goes a little bit off, then they make him a fake martyr. So they get a double whammy. On the one hand, they promote him to all these fools. And then when he goes a little bit off, people think, oh my God, they're persecuting Russell Brand. They keep him connected to these fools again. So they have, there's two ways of manipulating people, Johnny. But the earlier question you asked is, how do we get over this by what the media does? I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, basically,
right?
How do we? I'm without if we get rid of those mouthpieces, they'll just replace them with other mouthpieces. So how do we undermine the system that they replace that system of replacing mouthpieces with new mouthpieces?
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying you have to understand the dynamics of the system. So let me explain what I mean by this. You see, I just found an interesting statistic. There's, for every 1,000 people in the United States, there's 4 lawyers. For every 1,000 people in the United States, there's 0.8 engineers. Okay? Now, that should tell you something. Many lawyers actually wanted to be performers, by the way. They wanted to be, right, litigators, theatrics. But lawyers make money by delivering problems, by creating problems. If you're having a divorce with your husband and wife, they want to prolong that as long as possible. They make cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The lawyer model is prolong problems, make more money. Engineers have to solve problems in a finite period of time, okay? You're about delivering solutions. That's what engineers do. Two fundamentally very different things. So once we understand that, we can recognize that the establishment does not want people to go way deep down and understand the dynamics, right? Like you're going literally taking off, Wizard of Oz, and you're finding the wizard, right? They don't want you to do that. So they want you to see all this shit, and they have enough people, right? They have 1,000 Tulsi Gabbards ready to go. They have a million Vivek the Snakes ready to go. They have another 20 Booby fucking Kennedys, another 10 Donald fucking Trumps to manipulate people. They have all of that set up. So how do we overcome that? You have to go down and understand the principles of how the world operates. And those principles, Johnny, are systems principles, the system's dynamics. So for example, if I asked you, you saw a ball moving at a, with a certain acceleration, and I said, hey, what's the force of that? How much force does that have? Oh, every time you're measuring it. Oh, let me go measure. I'm going to, shoot this ball at a certain acceleration at some strain gauge and measure that. So every time I ask you a question, oh, I got to go measure it. But once you understand a principle, force equals mass times acceleration, you don't have to do that anymore. You've understood a very foundational principle. You understand that principle, you can build a bridge. You can build any structure on the planet. You see? So engineering teaches you to go and understand principles. Once you understand a foundational principle, you say, wait a minute. Dr. Shiva is saying there's a concept of a disturbance. The disturbance is put there, which is one of the principles of system science, to take you away from your goal. You see? So you now have to ask, is Booby Kennedy bringing me to my goal, truth, freedom, health? Or is he taking away from my goal? What is Tulsi Gabbard doing? So now you have to take a serious assessment, because you get to the point you understand systems dynamics. The elites have a very clear goal: consolidate power, profit, control. Do you think the people who control $600 trillion, by the way, that's how much money flows through the economy every microsecond. Do you think those people are going to allow anybody to be president of the United States? Are you fucking serious? That's their club. So they have created all these machinations to keep control, including putting disturbances in your way. So the disturbance that's coming in our way is we want to achieve truth, freedom, health. They don't want freedom for us. Booby promoted lockdowns in the middle of the pandemic. Go read it. Oh, the lockdowns are great. They're going to protect the climate. Fucking idiot. He didn't say shit against Fauci. I did first. I was the one who ran the Fire Fauci campaign. He used my material to have some doofus write a book called The Real Anthony Fauci. Wait till my book comes out called The Real RFK Jr. And it's coming out. All right? The Real Booby fucking Kennedy Jr. All right? And all of you
we're in competition here. I'm writing a series on him too, so it's,
good. Okay.
we'll see.
Right,
we'll see who gets we'll see who gets to what first.
Yeah. So the point is that the reality here is that you need to understand the system's dynamic. So what happens is the following, Johnny. If you look back at 2020, when we were, one is everyone thought, oh, Dr. Shiva's fighting for election systems. He's fighting against Fauci. Very, very, oh my God, we love Dr. Shiva. That's great. But then they didn't understand that I've been studying this shit all my fucking life. I also have to expose the other enemies. Booby Kennedy, Trump. Oh, wait a minute. What are you talking about? You were against Fauci and now you're against Booby? Yeah. You were against election fraud and you're saying Trump is part of it? Yeah. You see? Because if you want to really fight it, you got to let go of your illusions. So in 2020, 2021, we'd get a lot of these people. Dr. Shiva, why don't you work with Booby? You and him say so many of the same similar things. Why don't you work with Trump? Come on, you can work together with him. Precisely, absolutely not. Okay? And then out of that set, people would go away. So in 2020, people hated me. And now in 2023, 2024, people are coming back. I hated you attacking Booby, but you were so fucking right. I was so angry with you. And the quality of people that are coming back now, Johnny, are very self-reflective. They say, Dr. Shiva, I'm ready to study from you. I'm ready to talk to the master and learn, be an apprentice, because I have studied all this. People have to start appreciating people who put in the time. All right? And so now we have students who come and really want to learn this. All right, go read chapter 1. Go read chapter 2. So we're literally creating a University of Revolution Engineering. Go hand out a flyer. Were you able to talk to someone and explain to them that the United States life expectancy is going down? And the swarm is doing this. And you hand out a flyer. Did you have 1,000 people came by? How many conversations did you have? Did you learn how to articulate? Did you learn how to expose Kennedy and Trump? Yeah, but some people don't get it. Okay, well, you're going to have to talk to them. They learn expository rhetoric, right? They learn how to fight. Now they're exercising a whole muscle in their body, Johnny, that they never had, called citizenship. They may
Taking
fucking go on their lip.
Taking the top off the genie's lamp over and over and over again.
Exactly. So we're playing the long game. So, all these guys' balls we're going to cut off, and it's going to be step by step, but we're going to annihilate these people because the 8 billion people who are taken advantage by them are controlled by around 10,000 of them who understand system science. And I know those people. I used to teach them. So, if you want to really understand what's going on, and you really have to look at yourself in the mirror and you have to ask yourself, do I really want to change the world or am I just a bullshitter? Do I just want to talk about how fucked up the world is and get all my adrenaline flowing, right? Oh my God, this is happening. The border is now happening. Or do you really want to change it? I would say it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of people are just talking shit. They're just so addicted to talking about the dialectic. They don't really want to change anything. So don't waste my fucking time. But if you really want to change something and you want to be that 20%, and we've already fundamentally changed the world. Booby doesn't know where to go. Everywhere he goes, people like, you fucking Zionist hoodlum. Hey, Dr. Shiva said this. So we fucked him already. We fucked Trump in many ways. Vivek the Snake, that fucking meme I did went viral everywhere, okay? Total fucking Brahmin, bullshitting, big pharma, brown-nosing douchebag. But if we didn't exist, Johnny, frankly, these guys would get away. That's why they're doing so much weaving now. They would have been just fine with Trump. Then they needed to bring out Booby. Then they needed to bring out Vivek the Snake. Then they needed to try to Tulsi. Then they needed to bring out Joe Rogan. You see, they're bringing all these people out because the knowledge of the system dynamic is getting out there. So if you go look at my Twitter field, you'll see that. You'll see I don't have to do as much work anymore. I can focus on really educating those people who want to get educated. And others are learning this. And it's really quite cool to watch, man.
Yeah, what I liked about your swarm video is that there was not a bit of it that anybody I know could argue with. The people who I know, I sat them down and said, have a look at this. They watched the whole thing and they're really skeptical about, how much of the system is actually manipulated and created. And by the end of it, they were like, no, that all makes sense. I can understand all of that and I agree with it. And nearly every single part of it. And it's very rare. And that's because you've systematized so well. But that means we have to create a different architecture, surely, one that has a different sort of different outputs and inputs.
Yeah, well, inputs and outputs. So remember, in system science, it begins with, so there's two kinds of systems, by the way. I'm sort of going through the course in some ways, but it's okay. One system is called a dumb system, and the other is called an intelligent system. Now, a dumb system in system science is something that just simply takes an input and puts out an output. But it has the three forces of movement, transport, conversion, and storage. Okay, and this goes to thermodynamic theory and system science, but input and output. An example of a very dumb system everyone has in their home is called a light switch. You input, electricity flows through, is transported through, goes through the storage, the glass bulb, the electricity gets converted to heat and light, okay? That's what you get as output. That's a very dumb system. A toaster, most toasters, I have one of those intelligent ones, but a toaster, you just put a toast in, you click, and it comes up, right? Input, output. Those in power want to make human beings dumb systems, okay? So they sit you down. Booby gives you an email. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Oh, okay, give him $500. Input, output, okay? Trump, drain the swamp. Okay, give him money, okay? And they target their victims. It's called target marketing. This is where advertising is very powerful because they want you to take an input and an output. So they get, Britney Spears and Beyonce and all these people on an ad, right, doing something, and you go and drink Pepsi. Input, output, okay? They use what's called associative memory in your brain. So that's a very dumb system. Now, you become intelligent where you don't simply take an input and an output. You decide what input you're going to put into your system to get the output you want. Now, in order to do that, you have to set a goal for yourself, right? So let's say you're a fat fuck, 5,000 pounds overweight, because you've just been doing input, output all day, watching commercials, right? Eating shit, right? Whatever, not doing anything. And one day you wake up and you say, fuck, I don't want this. So now you've set a goal. I want to go from 200 pounds down to 160. That's a goal. Now you have set that for yourself. And when you decide on that goal, you literally have to go to a weighing machine and you have to see things as they are. You go, wow, I thought I was 150. I'm fucking 200 pounds. So you have to see things as they are. Now, having done that, you have to make a decision. What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to walk, maybe half a mile a day. I'm going to maybe eat a little more protein, right? Reduce all the sugars I'm eating. And then over time, you see your weight go from 200 to 180. You say, wow, I'm heading in the right direction. And you keep doing that. Now, but the other part of a system is a disturbance. A disturbance could be your old college friend show up and they go, you look great at 200. You look great at 5,000. Let's all go out. Look at me. I'm 3,000 pounds.
Hot dogs all around. Come on.
I look great, right? So then you go off course. Now, that same system applies to, so when I literally created Truth, Freedom, Health, Johnny, this is not a slogan. Truth is or let me start with freedom. Freedom is the aspect that comes out of general systems theory known as movement. The movement of information, matter, and energy is freedom. Truth is a conversion process that occurs in nature. The second fundamental process of nature, taking things from one form and converting. Truth is a verb in many ways because you take ideas, you put them through the scientific method, and then you say, oh, this withstands that. So this is a conversion process. And health is the infrastructure which allows us to support truth and freedom. If you're unhealthy, think about if you've ever been ill, you can't do anything, man. You can't fight for truth. You can't fight for freedom. You're fucked. So truth, freedom, health is the same processes that occur in nature. Movement of information, matter, and energy, the conversion process, and the vessel which contains this, which is called storage and structure. Okay? So when you decide to take an action, you are manipulating those forces of transport, conversion, storage. So when you say, I'm going to walk, now you're supporting your movement. When you say, I'm going to eat certain herbs, let's say ginger, cumin, certain things, probiotics, you're supporting the conversion process. When you start maybe doing some resistance training, you're supporting that part of your body, which is the infrastructure. You see, so it's quite beautiful. And this is what I discovered out of my Fulbright. After many years of searching, I found out that the engineering systems principles mapped one-to-one with indigenous systems of yoga and ancient medicine. They were the same principles. So there's some profound discoveries I made, but I found out these principles you can also apply to politics, to your personal health, to anything. And the elites know this. They know this cleverly. So what do they use it for? They're using it for maximizing power, profit, and control. So that's why Elon Musk was critical to them. Everyone knows X is not a free speech platform. It is now a digital cage. With his friend Peter Thiel, they're gathering so much data. They know our sentiment. I mean, it is quite extraordinary. There's videos I could show you. Literally, we do our Zoom open house. Literally, Booby Kennedy is copying that. It is pure CIA. Pure CIA. Okay? So they are watching, which is getting people's movement among people like you and I. And they're like, fuck, we got to cut this off. So we're going to have Booby say this. So that's why they build conduits to these so-called influencers. Okay? And so this is very, very clever. So we're living in what the internet was supposed to do was to free us. But it's actually consolidating power in more deceptive ways that we can never imagine. And that's why the only way out of this is you have to study the system dynamics. And that's why the Swarm video, I think it must have got 100, 200 million views. Others have taken it out, okay? Because it rings pure, unadulterated truth. And it's educating people. So we must escalate the movement for truth, freedom, health. My running for president is about setting our own definition of what victory looks like. Our definition of victory, Johnny, is you understanding this. You see? Jason Long, who's my assistant here, who was down in Florida left there to come volunteer for us. He goes and gets a full-time job at Whole Foods and volunteers for us. The quality of people that come to our movement are extraordinary people. And that's how you change the world. And as many people want to support Booby and suck him off, please suck him off, because we're going to shatter you. And that's the way the world is headed, because the elites know this. And this is why their hubris, though, is to think they can do these deceptive things, Johnny, right? They'll build a conduit to Whitney Webb, who'll expose everything, write blog posts. Oh my God, did you see what Whitney Webb just wrote? I don't give a fuck, because she hasn't called to cover me. And two litmus tests everyone can use is, do they cover Dr. Shiva? And the others, are they Zionist cocksuckers? And I'm telling you, you triangulate that and you will see. That's why I love going to independent media like you guys, because the real truth is among the independents, real independent media. We're not cocksuckers. And you must use these very, very vitriol. You watch a Swarm video and you read my books and you say, wow, this guy's a fucking serious scientist. People say, Dr. Shiva, I wish you wouldn't call people cocksuckers and use fuck every other word. You could get a bigger audience. That's actually not true.
I share a pool with in the independent media with people who I could only describe as cocksuckers, because they have sold out everything. They are willing to instantly change their mind for the next new trend, the next big thing to come along. And when Kennedy come along, I watched a load of people become giddy, schoolgirl-like, kind of like every single bit of pro-propaganda we had about JFK or Robert F. Kennedy Sr. all switched on at the same time as soon as Robert F. Kennedy comes along with a bit of emotive music. And suddenly all of these people who I thought were open-eyed suddenly closed their eyes very quickly. Not only that, but when I actually investigate the people who closed their eyes so quickly, they're all basically given the same accolades at one point, which is an article that I'll come out with eventually as well.
Because you know why? Now, the reason they do this, Johnny, and the reason they're promoted is, if you actually look at it from a very deep spiritual and psychological analysis, if you've met these people like Booby and Trump and all these fucking people, they're vile human beings in the extent that they're shells of humans. They have very few friends. They have no identity. Everything they've done has come from stealing from others, either other people's materials. They're vultures, right? Vampires. So they know internally they're nobody, that they are human beings who have gone into that position by mama and papa or whoever helped them, that they have nothing within them. So because of that, and because they have achieved that through cocksucking, they want you to be a cocksucker too. They want you to have no sense of yourself, because they have no sense of self. They have no sense of identity at a deep level. They have no real friends. They have no dignity, right? How can you fucking have dignity when you wrote a diary banging 28 women and rating them, and when your wife wanted to hang herself, you were okay with it. After she hanged herself, you buried her in a grave in the Kennedy area, took photo ops, and then exhumed her and moved her to an unmarked grave. Now, think about the vile nature of such a human being. Or how can you say, yeah, your wife is married and you're banging prostitutes in another bedroom, right? And you go convince the evangelicals you're like equivalent to Christ. Trump, I'm talking about, right? So these people know that everything they have done is from bullshitting. Vivek the Snake. I mean, you look at this guy, you want to slap the fucking shit out of him. Not once, but repeatedly for a long, long time, okay? Because you see the vileness of his nonsense, okay? He took a company public, which he knew the drug had failed 4 times, all right? And then had his mother write the research report. I mean, the level, so these people know that they got there through duplicity. And their only way forward is through duplicity. So they need people who have no dignity of themselves, who have no wisdom to follow them. So all of these people that they build around as influencers are essentially a shadow of these people. You see? That's who they are. So the good news is there's not a lot of them. But they make you believe they have incredible power. And that's why that swarm video is so powerful. That's why, I wrote System and Revolution to give people the fucking manifesto of how they break out of this shit. And this is why, separate from theory, we do laboratory and we do practice. My running for president gives people an opportunity to get on the ground, meet people. A couple of weeks ago, they will have to face the state head on. One of our volunteers, who's an electrician, goes to collect signatures. By the way, Booby said, I just got on the ballot in New Hampshire in a record time. He's taking Zionist hoodlums' money and he's hiring professional signature gatherers. Mm-hmm. This should be fucking illegal. We actually have volunteers who work full time. And then on a Sunday, this guy goes and collects signature. The police come, violate his civil rights, throw him in a cop car, take him to jail, strip search him, cavity search him. The level of abuse my volunteers undergo is quite extraordinary. So if you are serious out there and you're listening to this, and you're watching all this shit, if you want to really be a man or a woman, you fucking come join our campaign. You get off your ass. You come to Truth Freedom Health. And if you don't want to do that, then fucking go live this sort of weird life watching social media and complaining. But we give you an opportunity to truly become a true citizen. We teach you theory, we teach you laboratory, and we get people out with other human beings. And you will not feel alone anymore because you see, wow, that person gets it, that person gets it. There's a lot of people who are getting it. And there's a surgeon over there, there's a hairdresser, there's an electrician, right? There's a mother. And you see people from all colors, all diversities, being able to understand system science and being able to figure this shit out and being uncompromising, Johnny. So it's really, really cool, man.
Are you doing what you're doing now? Are you doing the thing that Robert Kennedy is pretending to do? Then
let me put it to you a different way. Robert Kennedy is stealing our work to manipulate people into thinking that he's going to do something for you. Mm-hmm. And he's doing that because the intelligence agencies have asked him to do that. Mm-hmm. Let me give you an example. At the highest levels, they know our movement exists. Reince Priebus, who was the chief of staff for Trump, when he heard that I was running for president, he said, fuck, this is going to be a disruption. They all know about us. Mm-hmm. Every fucking single one of them. So when people say, oh, Dr. Shiva, no one knows about you. No, wake the fuck up, idiot. They know about us. Mm-hmm. So they know everything about us. And they have studied political theory and they're like, fuck, this is the guy that we never wanted happening. We didn't want somebody going to MIT, getting 4 degrees, winning Fulbrights, creating stuff, and not being part of us. Mm-hmm. This is not supposed to fucking happen. Yeah. But it has happened. And we're replicating the knowledge that I've uncovered.
So in a sense, Robert F. Kennedy is a reaction to the happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is a reaction. I mean, I announce independent, then he announces.
Yeah.
Okay? He literally, I mean, I can show you literally words that I've taken that he literally steals. He's scared shitless of me. He is fucking scared shitless.
So how but instead of asking a question of like, how does a boy from Bombay end up running for president, I'd probably ask, how does a boy from Bombay think he can run for president in this sort of situation? How can he dare have that sort of like, goal? You have goals, sir.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. You're asking a great question, It's like a friend of mine who used to run a very large media company said, Shiva, when I look at the invention of email, it's like, it's so obvious you invented it. There's no gray area. The question is, why did they make a controversy out of it? And that's similar to this question. So look, my mom passed away 12 years ago on January 7th, She's quite an extraordinary woman. She came from nothing. And she ended up getting 2 degrees, a master's in mathematics. At 8 years old, her father ran away. And this is a dark-skinned Indian woman in fucking Castus Brahmanical fucking India. Mm-hmm. How the fuck did she do that? Extraordinary will. Right? So when I look at her and I look at my great-grandfather, who I, literally see my third eye every day. Here's a man who was literally an indentured servant, who worked out in the fields. And these people were unfucking compromising, Johnny. Tell you how uncompromising my great-grandfather was. When he was 12 years old, you know, they used to be at the river. I mean, they were so poor, they used to have to, I mean, eat, you know, it's not like they went out to the shops and got food, right? They lived like tribals. So my great-grandfather wanted to go to Burma. This is in the 1800s. And I saw, you know, I was fortunate to see him. He lived up to 102. Okay. And he was like the village shaman. He was ripped, you know, 93 years old. He'd be out in the fields working, super strong. But he looked like a fucking eagle. If you ever seen an eagle, he had this intensity to him that you did not fuck with this guy. But he had lived a truly honorable life. So when he was 12, he went to his older brother who had a little bit of money. And he said, look, can you lend me a little bit of money? I want to go to Burma and make my fortune, you know? And his brother wouldn't give him anything. So he said, on that day, he goes, I disowned my brother. It was it. Like, what the fuck is his brother? Like, he had very clear lines of what loyalty was. So he goes on essentially a slave ship. A lot of people may not know, but Indians from South India were the first slaves taken as indentured servants all over the world. So he goes to Burma and had to work on a bond for 3 years to be able to do that. Now, he worked apparently so hard, Johnny, that the slave ship captain was like so moved that he let him out of his bond. So my great-grandfather, you know, did whatever he could do in Burma. And when World War II came, he apparently had amassed quite a bit of wealth, lost everything. If people may not know, Burma, Myanmar was the center of the Japanese and US fight. But quite an extraordinary guy. He took all of his land, made little homes, and gave it to all the refugees and came back. So he said,
my granddad was stationed out there. My granddad was stationed out there. My granddad was stationed out there.
Yes. Yeah. So my dad was.
He apparently played football all throughout the war and said that they won nearly every round because no one was wearing shoes. So
I say, yeah,
that gave him the advantage.
So Burma was known for two things, or Myanmar for Buddhism and snakes, you know, and I can have a longer discussion. But anyway, my grandfather went there with nothing, made a lot, and came back with nothing. And he said, you can judge the quality of a person of how they're stable by when they have wealth, when they have no wealth, and they get back to wealth, you see? But he was an extraordinary man, absolutely uncompromising. You know, if someone in the village, he was very frugal, needed some education, he would find whatever money he could do to find him a book, etc. So I've seen people who are, in my view, gods on earth. These people were uncompromising, worked their butts off, and never fucking caved into fucking these forces. So that's in my fucking blood. So if I come from that lineage, do you think I'm going to fucking, so I see my great-grandfather's spirit every day, my mother's spirit, and the working class people. I grew up in New Jersey who were immigrants. And by the way, to all these fucking people, oh, the immigrants are coming in. You fucking idiots. Immigrants are the built America. Wake the fuck up.
They're the ones that get out of
goddamn immigrants. And the reason those immigrants are coming here over the border is because we fucked up, the United States government fucked up their countries by supporting dictators. So if you want to solve the immigrant problem, start looking at people in the United States who smoke weed all day, fucking jack off all day, live on welfare, and are talking about immigrants. I think we should send them out and find some of those poor people who actually want to work hard, which they do, because I can't find people to do handyman's work, landscaping. I don't find any other people to do it, right? So this whole dialectic, the elites do not want to solve the immigrant problem because they profit by it. So they always create these fake fucking problems and then have the working people fighting among themselves. So when you say that, why do I choose to run? Because no one ever gave my people anything, nothing. No one ever gave my mother the right to go to education. When she used to go to the well, the Brahmin fucking freaks like Vivek Ramaswamy and his people would say, "Shoo, you pig." So fuck you. That's my answer. I come from people who had nothing and who fought for everything. So do you think anyone's going to give me something, Johnny? No. And no one's going to give 8 billion of us anything. We have to take it. And how do you take it? Well, fucking learn how to do it.
Learn how to, not only how to do it, but how to be human and humane.
How to be human and how to fucking shatter the swarm. So, and so this moron says, I will smoke weed if I want. I worked for it. Fuck your systems. Great. So get the fuck off here. So you're blocked. Go fuck yourself and smoke weed all day. Fuck off. All right. So there's no reason for you to be here because you're not qualified to watch this fucking stream.
Mhm.
So,
Well, you have there's a load of people out there who are disenfranchised. When you were just talking there, it was making me think of my grandfather. My grandfather, that on the one side, my grandfather worked really hard all of his life and paid into the system, and at the end of it, the system fucked him over completely. They left him in a hospital bed, and they wanted to remove him out of the hospital bed and put him into some private hospital bed, when he was really ill, after he had paid in loads of money to have all of his care, and to be looked after properly. My other granddad, he was the one who fought out in Burma and other places, and he was a pub landlord. He knew everybody in the area. He knew how to be a human. He knew how to reach out to people. He knew how to get people on his side. But both men had to have the struggle of living within this society, and that's where we are now. So a lot of these people who are smoking weed and masturbating all day, well, a lot of them are stuck into a world where they don't see another option because they don't see that. They don't have the same faith as you have, or the same faith as I have, by looking at our ancestors and what they did. They look at their ancestors and see that they were taken advantage of all throughout their life, and they see themselves, I think, as victims. I think a lot of this is a wider like feeling of victimization, victimhood that humans take on, and a kind of like given as an excuse to hide away from what the real facts are and what the real problems are. But wow, I mean that's a load of information. How do you handle all of that you must get a lot of like pushback as well. How do you handle it?
no, well, look. So I think, Johnny, I think one thing to really emphasize is that those in power create distractions every microsecond so we don't focus on our mission in life. It's a very, very evolutionary thing in your life when you learn how to set a goal, frankly, fuck everyone else, and go after the things you need to do to achieve that goal. The elites know how to do this quite well, right? They do not want working people setting our goals for ourselves, setting our agenda. So in a very relentless process, every day you wake up, oh my God, the Houthis are attacking, or the US is bombing the Houthis. There's going to be World War III. Oh my God, is there going to be World War III? Let me move over here. Right? So every day they're creating some crisis. So you don't focus on what your mission is. Oh my God, CDBCs are going to come. We got to vote for Trump now. You see, Shiva, I like what you're saying, but we got to go over here now. So they are creating enough distractions. So we collectively, as working people, say, wait a minute, and they do not want our leaders, people like me. You see? So they don't want us to define our own leaders, but that's what's happening with our movement. You'll see it go all over. So wait, Dr. Shiva said this, Dr. Shiva said this, Dr. Shiva. So they do not want Malcolm X's coming up. They do not want Johnny Vedmore's, people coming from the masses. So they want to distract us. They create some problem and they want us to go over here and make it so urgent. Oh my God, well, everything you say is true, but this election, I have to vote for the lesser of two evils.
It's different this time. It's different. I gotta do it just this time. Yeah.
Right. But so they take us to the brink and then they hold us. They take us to the brink and then they hold us. And every time they do that, they're increasing their wealth. So every time they take us to the brink, just watch. A lot of poor people will sell their homes or their stocks at low prices. The elites buy it, and then overnight it's up here. And like, what the fuck just happened? So they have learned through fear, through manipulation, that you don't focus on your goals. So the recognition here is, Johnny, that we have a mass of 8 billion people who are absorbed by this machinations, right? Among them, there will be certain people who are starting to wake up, but then they get suckered into Kennedy and Trump. And then among those people start understanding they're serious and want to understand the dynamics. They've been fucked over enough times, right? Then they say, fuck, let me really listen to what Dr. Shiva's saying. And then that body of human wisdom or matter can be used in a very powerful way to educate more and more people, you see?
Mm-hmm.
And that group of people is what the future of humankind that I believe is about. So in a very deliberate way, I am setting for myself and for those who want to look into it, what is our fucking goal? Truth, freedom, health. Forget all this shit. So today, my mission was what is my goal in coming on Johnny Bedmore Show? I want to talk about do you want to learn system and revolution? If you do, I'm here. That's my agenda. And next week, I'm going to teach people, I'm doing interviews. What is a system? What is a revolution? What is the swarm? So if you look at a body of work, you could say, oh, wow, this week I learned this from Dr. Shiva in a very pedagogical way. And I have learned that a system is dumb systems, there's intelligent systems, and then maybe I should fucking learn this shit because the elites are learning it. And if I don't learn this foundational piece, I'm fucked. Some people say, like this idiot, I want to smoke weed. Great, go fucking smoke weed. Go fuck off. Go do whatever fuck you want. But don't fucking waste my time. Block you, get the fuck out. All right? And so we need to have a very clear mission. We need to block out all this shit. Mm-hmm. Let them let them drop bombs. Let them fucking create World War III. You can't do anything about it. But if you get caught in all this shit, we're not building the movement, which is what we're creating, Johnny.
Eventually, what they're doing will fall apart by itself. I mean,
well, it's already falling apart. Look at what they've had to do, just with Kennedy, right? Mm-hmm. He's freaked out. I know the fucker. He's an insecure piece of shit. Okay, yeah. So every time we put out there, he sends people to come to our Zoom things, copy our shit, right? Same with Trump. I mean, Reince Priebus, who was the chief of staff, saying, oh shit, this is going to be, they watch everything we do. It is not accidental. They went and found a brown skinned fucking Vivek to repeat my shit. That is not accidental, guys. It's not accidental. Yeah. It's not accidental. They waited 2 years after I exposed the entire backdoor portal into Twitter, then to have fucker repeat it, but a limited hangout story of it. All of this is orchestrated because they know someone like me has figured their fucking shit out and is educating other people. And sometimes I feel like the Planet of the Apes, that guy Caesar, teaching the other monkeys what the fuck is going on.
What would you have done different? What would you have done different? I mean, I'm sure you're busy and you're probably going to have to go soon. There's a couple of questions I got to ask. One of them is definitely, what would you have done with Twitter differently than what's going on right now?
Oh, well, look, I was the one who discovered the entire backdoor portal into Twitter, right? Back in 2020. Everyone knows this. And when Elon Musk was coming in, I did a tweet out, which went viral, right? I'll be your CEO. Got, I think, 20 million views. And then I kept hammering Elon. I said, are you going to remove the backdoor portal into Twitter? What he did, and everyone's like, oh, why are you attacking Elon? He's great. All the conservative grifters. And then he brings in Linda Yaccarino, a Zionist hoodlum out of the WEF, right? And then people are like, oh, Dr. Shiva's right. And then Elon goes and sucks Zionist cock with Ben Shapiro. But you see, they're letting all of this out because they're little by little bringing you into learned helplessness. So you say, well, I guess Elon had to do that. Yeah, he had to do that. Fucker had to be quiet. He had to do that. He's getting 20 million bucks. You fucking idiots. He didn't have to do anything. He has no balls. He's part of them. Okay? So with Twitter, the first thing I would have done is fucking entered the backdoor portal into Twitter. The government
would mean cutting off the Alliance for Securing Democracy that's working out of the German Marshall Fund and doing that Hamilton 68
stuff.
It
could just end.
It's probably just Hamilton 69 now. And these are the guys who are the neocons who are helping create the NGO, a new world order that's creating all the perpetual warfare on the borderlands.
Johnny, it all goes back to England, okay? MI6.
I got to say, I'm Welsh. I live next door to England. They annexed us 500 years ago.
But there's a difference between the English people and the English elites, right? We're talking about We're talking about the Atlantic Council.
You're talking about French and Germans, really.
I'm talking about the Atlantic Council, Oxford. That group is the one who created the entire project, which then they did at Harvard, the Defending Democracy Project, which they mapped out the entire backdoor portal into Twitter. They rolled it out in London, then they rolled it out in England, and then they brought it to the United States. That came out of my lawsuit, all right? 2 or 3 years before. Then fucker Carlson takes a little piece of it with his other bullshit organization called The Intercept, and they try to never cite what we did, right? And then try to spin it as though the Twitter files. This is a level of CIA shit, man. Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi.
Taibbi's like his agency hegemony. His father was the same sort of messing around, and it's time when he was in the Russian media outlet in the noughties. I mean, if you actually read about some of that, it obviously was an operation, and he obviously knew that he was going to come to prominence. And the guy he set it up with said, "Oh, eventually he's going to have to do what the establishment wants. You know, he's going to have to do that." And then you saw that happen with the Twitter files. That's what it looked like.
Well, yeah, but the Twitter files, everyone knows we had exposed it in lawsuit after lawsuit in 2020. We were the ones who discovered it. Everyone in the world knows about this. And Twitter files was a limited hangout intended to subsume it and act as though that, that Elon Musk was somehow, saving our world, right? That's what this was all about. Just to let you know, in the United States, again, I have filed a follow-up lawsuit because they attempted to bribe me and drop all the case against the government, and I refused. So we're going back at it again, and it's going to be it's a very powerful lawsuit because in that lawsuit we're now going directly after CISA. And right after I filed that lawsuit, Stephen Miller, as Zionist hoodlum, does the same kind of lawsuit, but asking people to give him money. You see? So our lawsuit was the one that exposed the fact that government has a backdoor portal into all social media companies, and it was used against me when I ran for Senate. And then fucker Carlson, Glenn Greenwald, another piece of shit, actually concealed my lawsuit purposefully. And we have that all documented. Waited 2 years and then promote The Intercept, promote Taibbi as though they're discovering something new, when what they were discovering was not the entire truth. It's called a limited hangout.
Is that the same thing with which happened with Snowden then? Because I feel that was...
I don't trust the entire thing with Greenwald and Snowden. I haven't...
No, the information was coming out anyway. That's what I feel. The program was coming to an end, and eventually everybody was going to find out about it. So it just seemed like really convenient that suddenly they were breaking a story that was going to break anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, because Greenwald is just a douchebag. He thinks he's somebody, right?
They've got something big on him. That's what my thought is on Greenwald, is they've got something big on him.
Well, see, I don't think we should give all these people that excuses. These people are complicit. It's like saying they have something on Russell Brand. No, Russell Brand was doing whatever the fuck. He was part of them. They all do shit together. So it's like when in 2009, when I went to India on a Fulbright to do my research, when I was leaving India, the Prime Minister's office recruited me to run one of the largest innovation centers there. Okay. And what I noticed was, like, they would give you all this shit. They would give you a car, they give you servants, all this stuff, right? You're treated like royalty. And then they're hoping you'll do something wrong, like use your car for doing personal shopping, and they'll write it down. But they have all shit on everyone. So all of these people, when you get in them, they have shit on you. And because people get all these amazing, benefits, no one leaves. So in my case, they had nothing on me, and I exposed all the corruption in the Indian government. It's a long story, and I had to leave under death threats. I wrote an article for Nature, and then I was invited back many years later, all right? But I have fought wherever I've gone for truth, freedom, and health, Johnny, and anyone can go look at my history. It's absolutely consistent. So this is what they're concerned. They're like, shit, this guy can't be bought. He fucking keeps doing the right thing, and he's building a movement, and he's educating people. So their only thing is they're going to create more of these fake Booby Kennedys, and Booby Kennedy is their Booby Kennedy, the Viveks, the Trumps are the things against our movement. Okay, they will say anything, they'll vomit anything right now, just to keep people connected. If I said System and Revolution, you'll see Booby writing a book called System and Revolution tomorrow. If I put out a flyer tomorrow, Booby will be putting out this flyer. Right? He'll be doing that. All right. So they are in a desperate mode right now. They have to just cut and copy, and keep enough people attached to the swarm. That's what they're doing.
Wow. Wow. So what's your
Shiva,
plan?
you should interview with Stu Peters. Yeah,
Yeah,
Stu Peters, interesting. Come on, guys. Look, all you people who say you should. How about you should get off your ass and go get a fucking bumper sticker? How about you should go to Truth, Freedom, and Health and help us hand out some flyers? So stop saying I should do shit. I do a lot of shit. Why don't you do fucking something?
I know that Stu Peters guys contacted me at one point and were very interested and then disappeared very quickly. A lot of these people tend to look at my work and see it's objective and then run away again. So I think
what
objectivity is the problem.
They'll also see something going viral, and their audience will say, why don't you have Dr. Shiva on just to maintain some credibility? They'll put me on to get the views, and then they don't want to talk to me anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course.
So,
and what I've seen is the same people within all of those networks, including Stu Peters, the same people I've met working elsewhere also work there, and it seems like there's lots of connections, which I'm not sure these are all people who, when we look at how they run their enterprises, it's very much like they want to be the purveyors of truth and knowledge, and yet they seem to give the enemy everything to attack them on a plate and attack our side on a plate, and that seems very suspicious to me. I don't like our own demise being served up to us.
Well, Johnny, that's what I'm saying. So they do on every issue. They act like they're fighting for us, but they do something so we can be attacked. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, in United Kingdom, we have a lot of people now, man, who are organizing there. It's one of the fastest growing areas for our movement. And everyone in our movement has full-time jobs, or they're retired and they work, and then they support us. Mm-hmm. And our goal is to educate. The slogan is get educated or be enslaved. But you have to get the right education: theory, laboratory, practice. Theory, laboratory, practice. In many ways, we're creating a discipline of how to fight.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen overnight, but we're playing the long game. There is urgency, yet there is no urgency, in the sense if we don't do the right things now, we're going to always be in this like rats running around in a cage. You got to do methodically the right things.
When do you think this rat maze will end? When do you think that do you think that you'll become president?
So here's the interesting thing. You say, I believe, if you go study system science, that in one individual can have an immense impact. A collective set of individuals self-organizing can literally do what's called a phase shift. And that's what I call a revolution. A revolution from an engineering standpoint is a phase transition. Mm-hmm. So if you watch, if you go cooking, right, and you put some oil down, and I'm not saying anyone should do this, but if you heat the oil to a certain point, the particles will look random. At a certain point, they form a beautiful pattern. And then if you heat them some more, they go random and form patterns. When they go from those different transitions, those are called phase transitions. We live in a certain vibratory rate of human consciousness, right? People looking to Booby, people looking to Trump and all this. And so the society we get is because of that state of consciousness. Now, if we get another set of people, you don't need everyone, vibrating at a different rate. Wait a minute, like we're talking Booby's full of shit. We need to build a bottoms-up movement. These people aren't going to do anything. Here are actual solutions. And you get enough people doing that, a phase transition takes place. I really am a big proponent of it is from information through energy we get matter. It is from our thoughts. Everything we have around us was a thought in someone's mind, right, that created this. So the quality of our thoughts are what create the world we have around us. So ultimately, we have to look to ourselves. The elites know this. They have very, very satanic thoughts of power, profit, control. Every time they get up in the morning, how much money am I going to fucking make? How many people am I going to abuse today? How much more control I'm going to have? Academics do this. The academics are their control vehicle. The Wall Street people are their profit vehicle, and the politicians are their vehicle for power. So power, profit, control. All right. So we have to have our agenda when we wake up in the morning. We want more truth. We want more freedom. We want more health. How are we going to achieve that? And that's the program we actually have to organize. This idiot Malay in Argentina, he's, gives this ridiculous, nonsensical speech with Elon Doofus Musk. Says, oh, wonderful speech. What does the speech say? Oh, we need to have free markets and that we're against collectivism. when these fucking people are the most collectively organized. They don't have fucking free markets. So it's collectivism for them, but not for thee. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
most
we should
definitely.
collectively organize, individually and collectively.
And then we get a
should have-
different, we get a different tone. We get a different like
Yeah, so
reverberation.
yeah, and it's just, you know, to me, I see a very clear path, and those in our movement. It's just you have to educate, you have to focus people, they have to learn the theory, they have to learn the physics, and they have to practice, right? So getting out and collecting signatures, as I mentioned, our volunteer who goes and does that is going to learn a lot. He goes to a store to collect signatures. The store manager says you can't collect, and you say, no, I have the right to do that. Here's a 1980 Supreme Court ruling. During an election, I can collect. Then the cops show up, and the elites actually don't train the cops to know the law because they want us to harass us, right? So then you have to learn how to face the cops. You have to learn how to record them. You have to learn how to sue. So we teach all this shit.
Yeah.
Except I'm walking around with my gun. I got my Second Amendment. You're fucking.
Really,
you're not doing anything.
really
idiot.
strange. In actual fact, what you're doing is like the places that I go naturally to try and find where truth and freedom is. I'm one of the things I do on top of all of the rest of the stuff is police auditing, where I go out and record the police, because there's only a certain amount of things that you should do or you need to do to start like showing people how corrupt the system is and undermining the system. The best thing is to do it right up and get the change happening and see the change happening. But also, I mean, what we're talking about is I think one of the things that is ticking through my mind right now is, instead of me watching for the change as we do each little move, I think what you're saying is we've got to enact a system that will change it automatically, and we don't have to watch it change. It will change whether they like it or not because of what we're doing.
The nature of systems is self-organizing systems. Mm-hmm. And so we can have a long conversation on this. And this was the work of Ilya Prigogine, who won the Nobel Prize in 1957. And we as individuals, and it really bridges science and spirituality in many ways, that there's a false dichotomy between science and spirituality. But when you go down to system science, it resolves all that. So the question has always been, do histories create heroes, or does heroes create history? You know, which came first, you know, mind or matter? This has been the fundamental issue. You know, Descartes tried to answer this and all these guys, right? But the fundamental issues, both are occurring at the same time. So an individual can have immense impact on everything, you know, billions of light years away, literally, from the evidence that we're showing. But when a collective set of individuals raise their consciousness, you can change the world. Mm-hmm. And so the issue is we have to put our blinders on, fuck all this bullshit that they're doing. Yes, okay. What is our goal? And you know, I've done the work for, you know, in many ways, I've created that infrastructure for people. It's taken 50 years. We've created that framework. It's taken tremendous amount of thought, tremendous amount of hard work. It's like we've created the framework for people to have that community that they need, have that intellectual theory that they need, and then have that ability to go through a process which cannot occur in a vacuum, you see? So in many ways, Truth, Freedom, Health is a movement, it's a university, it's a community, it's technology, it's all these things. And so this is what the elites have created, but they've used system science for their goals of power, profit, control. And so, but you know, it's like you can have, Buddha said something interesting, you know, a surgeon can wield a knife and he can use it to save people. A robber can wield a knife and he can use it to kill people, right? It's the intention. So the knife in this case is system science. Where do we want to use it? They use it for maximizing power, profit, control. And they surely do not want any of us learning this. I mean, literally, Johnny, what I'm doing is like Prometheus bringing fire to the
It's logical framework. It's given logical framework to the fallacies. Yep. I mean, they've taken out all Greek and Roman education, Latin education and philosophy out of the curriculum on purpose from the 70s onwards to stop us being able to understand logic and understand fallacies and understand all of the basic principles that will make that change, that will give people consciousness and
Well, so a lot of that knowledge was valuable, but in many ways it's old, you know.
Mhm.
System science takes this to another deeper level.
Yeah.
And the cool thing that I'm very proud of what we've been able to do is we've made this accessible to anyone. So we have a hairdresser who teaches us to a PhD.
Yeah.
It's learn, teach, and serve. So part of this is also realizing that the only way to scale, you know, we're not at MIT or Harvard, is you have to have the ethos, learn, teach, and serve. You learn it, you're also making a commitment that you're going to teach other people. So all of our people who learn this stuff, they have to commit to teach other people.
Yeah.
You know, it's called the dual pedagogy model. Because when you teach, you learn. You know, and then you have to go serve, you know, go out, hand out a flyer, go right to people, go in front of the rain and, you know, in front of a tube station, talk to people. So these are things that no one has exercised their muscles on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of work, but it's what needs to be done.
I think this is a good place to end today. I think like understanding that the system is what the system looks like, and then heading towards changing that system with blinkers on is possibly the best the best
Well,
way
it is
forward.
why in all the ancient spiritualities, you know, when you learn how to meditate, the first thing you learn is to observe the mind. The mind is like a wild, crazy horse. It wants to run in every direction. The elites know this. So they keep feeding you stuff so you never are able to sit in silence. And the first thing you learn is you know, I was very fortunate. I learned this from my grandmother, my grandparents, how to meditate in a very powerful way where you become the observer, you become the equanimous observer. So even though I'm doing this talk with you, there's a part of me which is observing myself. You say, you learn how to observe your thoughts, your words, and your deeds, and you learn to be an equanimous observer. And then that leads to the ability where you can focus on something. But with, you know, there's a very interesting spiritual thing or a exercise, forget even spiritual, where I would do a 10-day retreat. And for those 10 days, you can't speak to anyone. All right.
Wow.
But you have to observe your mind. Triathletes go through this, and they said it is harder to do that than run a triathlon because the mind is a very, very powerful instrument. Those in power know this. And the reason you have to really go back to the swarm video, the reason 100,000 people are able to control 8 billion people is they know the psychology of the mind. And they know that the average mind likes to be distracted. And you find people you hire, you try to talk to someone, you try to ask them a question, they'll answer something else. And I spend most of my time because the system has made people unable to sit, focus, and be in a certain level of serenity and stillness. And those 9 principles, by the way, I just went through, show up in meditation. The input of your breath, the output of your breath, the conversion of your breath, you know, to CO2 into oxygen, the disturbances that come, all the thoughts that you have to refocus, gently bring your mind back into attention, right? All these things are quite powerful. They occur everywhere. So ultimately, you can look at what I'm teaching at a spiritual level. You can teach it at a body level. You can teach it at a political level. All of them are occurring at the same time. But the key thing is we collectively have the knowledge. I mean, had this knowledge existed 50 years ago, the swarm wouldn't have been able to do what they do to us. But it has been purposely concealed.
Yeah.
So I feel very fortunate that, you know, my parents and my ancestors and those people in New Jersey worked so hard and gave me tools that I was able to learn this. But it becomes an imperative duty, and that's what I'm driven by, to share this with as many people, but not just intellectually, but to fight these fuckers. And that's why I use the words that I use, because they come naturally, and they are, in many ways, they're scientific terms. And it's scientific because we should not have any type of respect for these people. We shouldn't. And we should break our emotional attachments to these people. Mm-hmm. And so please call them Zionist cocksuckers. Please teach your kids to curse.
I will.
Please call fucker Carlson, because when you do that, you're actually breaking. You're not doing it for me. You're doing it because there's a part of your brain which gives these people way too much power. Mm-hmm. And then call working people, honor working people, you know, honor those people who get up every day and fucking work and actually do work. But do not honor these people. They don't fucking work, guys. They're scumbags.
I feel Marcus Aurelius as well, the ghost of Marcus Aurelius in the room when you talked about some of what you just said.
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius was, he had some of these things down.
Yeah, really interesting. Hey, thanks for speaking to me today, and thanks for speaking about all of this.
All right, Johnny. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you and your audience. I wish you well. But get involved in our movement, man. We'll introduce you to Michael Griffith. Michael's out there. We have great people out there. For anyone, I'm going to finish up. I'm going to play a couple of videos here on Truth, Freedom, Health. But people should learn, be grateful that you came to Johnny's and my discussion today, because there is a place to figure all this out. There's not only hope, but there's a very clear path to shattering the swarm and to understanding what a system is and what is a revolution. It's been a life journey for me, but I'm very, very honored to be able to share this with people. But it's now time for you to do action, and I'll probably be the hardest coach you've ever had and help you be disciplined and not fucking go off and send wacko videos on flat earth and shit like that.
Don't worry, I'm not going to do that anytime soon.
Right.
But I tell you what we should do is we should definitely swap notes on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. eventually.
Let's do that.
I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Johnny.
Keep up the good work. I'll talk to you
be
soon.
Well.
Young generation like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets